Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing Nabner Whispers. Now, you can see sort of like a golden wisps, basically, whipping around, I guess, a team of detectives by the look of things that are probably whispering to one another. That's kind of the theme that we're going for here. And I'm actually particularly excited about today's puzzle. So essentially what I've been doing is going through, as we focus on the Christmas countdown, we've missed, I would say, quite a few highly rated, difficult puzzles. So 2-star rating puzzles. They're obviously higher, but I've never really featured them on this channel. And this is amongst the highest. In fact, when I went back through the month of December, this is the second highest difficulty rated puzzle that came out in December with 96%. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it does have a bit of a twist that I imagine we're going to have to figure out on the normal variant rule sets. Don't know what I'm talking about? Let's take a look at the puzzle. So, Nabner Whispers by PDN. We've featured puzzles recently from PDN to my recollection. If this turns out to be as good as I'm expecting it to be, I'll make sure that I leave a link in the description down below for other puzzles from PDN that are probably worthy of playing if you haven't as well. Right, so not really a lot of drawing on today's grid. It really is just a handful of golden lines, which are both German whispers and Nabner lines. So let me not get ahead of myself. Let's take a look at the rule set. So first rule, normal Sudoku rules apply. So that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each, no repeats in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. I can't even select a 3x3 box or a column today. Now, the lines in the puzzle are both German whisper lines and Nabner lines. So each line obeys both rules, i.e. adjacent digits on a whispers / Nabner line must have a difference of 5 or greater, and if a digit appears on a whisper / Nabner line, then the digits consecutive with it must not appear on that line. Also, digits may not repeat on one of these lines. It's a very long way of saying the following. Let's imagine that this is just a German whisper line for a moment. So if I place a 2 in here, essentially the next digit along will have to be 5 or greater. So it's going to have to come from 7, 8, or 9. And then you end up oscillating on German whisper lines between low digits, high digits, back to low digits. Now, this low digit cannot be consecutive with the 2 anymore. So 1 and 3 are both ruled out. It would have to be a 4. And, well, I mean, for this to be 5 or more away, I've already broken the puzzle with a double 9 with my example. So, as you can see with my attempt to try and fill this in, this is extremely difficult. I mean, I've broken the Nabner line, I've broken the Sudoku rules. I suspect that if I spend some time trying to come up with an example, it's probably going to start partially solving this puzzle. So bear in mind the following set of rules. It's oscillating between low and high digits. The digits, as in low and high, have to be 5 or more apart. And the digits that are of the same polarity cannot be consecutive. So this is a very interesting twist on the normal rule variants. Last thing that is kind of, I don't want to say it's obvious, but because I couldn't do something like 9 and 9 with a 4 in here, because I am repeating the digits. Yes, they're not technically consecutive, but PDN thankfully has made it crystal clear that at least on this Nabner line, you cannot have the same digit. Then lastly, we have killer cage rules. So you've got this dashed line in here outlining a selection of digits, a selection of cells. These 2 cells must sum up to the top left corner, a 6. If that was a 2, that would be a 4. And we've got a 14 in here, for example. If that was a 5, that would have to be a 9. To make sure that these 2 cells add up to 14 and make sure that these 2 cells add up to 6. So that's all the rules. And you can see it's an extremely sparse grid. We're clearly going to have to think about this combination of Nabner and German whispers to figure out what is going on here today. Now, if you're not intimidated by pretty much anything I've just said, and you don't mind having golden wisps of Nabner Whisper lines kind of wrapping around you, link will be in the description down below for you to play along as usual. And all that's left is for me to restart the clock and see how I get on. So, break-ins, I feel, are going to be extremely tough in this puzzle. And I'm really looking at sort of this section of the grid. I know that eventually we'll have to think about these lines, and the fact that there's so many lines in this puzzle in box 2 is kind of interesting. But I think the fact that we actually have numbers here with the killer cages is kind of our best chance. And I say it is very much our best chance because with a 14 cage, this can only be 5 or 9. There's only 2 ways of doing it in 2 cells. 5, 9 or 6, 8. And the important part is I can't have a 5 on a German whisper line. You know, if I put a 5 in here, how am I going to place a digit that is 5 or more away under normal Sudoku rules? So that is not a 5. That is 6, 8, or 9, and it has to be a high digit. And I've got a very similar setup here with the 6. This has to be a low digit. It's either a 1-5 pair or a 2-4 pair, and the 5 cannot belong on here. So this is from 1, 2, and 4, and this would be from 5, 2, or 4. This 6, 8, 9 would be joined with a 6, 8, or a 5. And we have some pencil marks. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as placing the first digit. Actually, we have some candidates, let's just say. Right. Now we're really going to have to think about this Nabner Whisper line. And I'm really interested to see how this will play out. So here's an example. You know, you saw me when I was trying to come up with an example here with my favorite digit 2. If I place a 2 in here, the Nabner rule set forces this to be a 4, because 1 and 3 are adjacent, and therefore I place a 4 in here and I need 2 9s and I've broken the puzzle. So 2 on the edge, I think, just simply put, never works. And I'm kind of actually wondering if 1 would work. And 1 could, because I can place a 3, but then the 3 would require an 8 and a 9, 2 consecutive high digits next to them. So, like, what I think it's saying under this sort of Nabner Whisper line, and I kind of need to test this theory. Forget this cage and everything in here. Actually, let's just think about this for a moment. If I place a 1 or a 2 in here, a 2 will always break, because then I would need a 4 in the middle, and then that would require a double 9. Equally, if I place a 1 in here, I need a 3 or 4 in the middle, and the best case scenario would be this is a 3, but then it would require an 8, 9. So I think on this line, we can never have a low digit. So 1 and 2 are never candidates on the end, because as you've seen, it forces a high digit in the middle, which would force consecutive high digits around it. Now, I'm guessing the opposite of what I've just said is also true. If I place 8 or 9 in here, and I try either of them, if I place an 8, 7 and 9 are adjacent, that would require a 6 and then a double 1. Equally, if I try a 9, best case scenario, I can't place an 8 in here, that would be a 7, and then I would have to place both 1 and 2, because they're the only 2 digits that are available that would be 5 or more away from a 7. So essentially, the ends of these digits, these lines, can never be 1, 2, or 8, 9. They have to be a 3, 4, or 6, 7. And I think that forces a 4 in here, and this is going to be from 1 and 2. I mean, that places 2, so we've like just over 4 minutes, we've actually placed our first digit. That gives us a 9 in here. That it removes kind of 9 and 5 as candidates in the 14 cage. That's a 6, 8. Now, we've already thought about this 8. If I place an 8 in here, what would this digit be? It would have to be not consecutive with the 8, so 7 and 9 are out. I would have to place a 6. I mean, I've already broken it because that would be a 6, and that would sort of break Sudoku rules. But then both of these would have to be a 1, which are the same digits on this Nabner Whisper line. So that's a 6, that's an 8. That has to be a 1 next to the 6. This now is not 6, 7, or 8. That has to be a 9, that has to be a 4. It's almost as if digits are appearing out of thin air. Where does 5 belong in row 8? That's got to be the 5. And then I have 2 digits left, which are 1 and 3. I'll just color them. That gives me blue. That gives me red. Love it. Am I going to keep up with the coloring? Maybe. I might need it. I'm just going to keep it for a while. So we said 1 and 2 cannot be on the end, nor can 8 and 9. And unfortunately, the fact that I have all options still available, I could still place 3, 4, or... No, 6, 7 is not available. And I can't place 8 or 9 at the end. So this is 3, 4, and a high. This is, sorry, a low digit, and these two are highs. This is like nuts. Stuff is just truly appearing out of magic. Like thin air is just... Wow. So we thought about the ends of these lines, and I feel like we need to think about the middle. And I'm very tempted to say that it's going to be the opposite of what I've just said. So the ends can only ever be, at least on these 4-line long Nabner Whisper lines, the ends can only be from 3, 4, 6, and 7. However, the middles, I'm kind of suspecting they have to be from 1, 2, 8, 9. And it's sort of obvious. If this is, I mean, if this is 3 or 4, I can't have another 3, 4 in the middle. So this would have to be a low digit if this is 3 or 4, and it would have to be from 1 and 2. Equally, if this is 6 or 7, if that's 6, I can't have 7 in the middle. I would need an 8 or 9. So essentially, every line in this puzzle is every 4-cell line in this puzzle is forced to be in this shape. That's absolutely incredible. Now, a 3-cell line is, just ignore everything I've just said. Is kind of what I'm going to say. I think some of the restrictions apply for the digit in the middle, in that if this is a low digit, even if it's 7, that would require 1 and 2. So that is forced to be 8, 9. That is forced to be an 8 because 9 is already placed. Because that's an 8, that has to be a 3. Because that's a 3, that can't be a consecutive 2 or 4. That's forced to be a 1. Because that's an 8, that can't be 7 or 9. That is forced to be 6. And yeah, like digits seem to appear out of thin air. It's just, I'm just amazed. So let's think about this 4-cell line next. I mean, we've got actually quite a few candidates. Should I think about the 4-cell line? Should I think about the 5s? I mean, because, you can't forget that these are German whisper lines, therefore there are no 5s here. I can corner pencil mark this, no 5s there, no 5s there. This is a 5. Eliminating all of these 5 and this 5. There's a 5 in here. There is a 5. I think, actually, no. Just, I was about to say it's placed, but it isn't. So, yeah, interesting, but not quite enough. Right. We said the end. I mean, I could place a 4 in here, so that is not quite forced. And I can place a 7. So this is from the candidates, because I can't place 1 or 2 on the end, nor 8 or 9, nor 6 or 7 on the end. So this is either a 4 or a 9, I'm going to say. Am I thinking this the right way around? No, it's got to be a low high digit. and 6 is not available. So that's 7 or 4. If that's a 4, that would be a 9. That's not available. That's a 7. So these are highs, these are lows. I've placed a 7. That forces a 9 because 6 and 8 are adjacent. The 9 in here actually gives me tons of options. So this is what I was about to say doesn't make any sense. This is 3 or 4. This is the 1 or 2. We have an 8 in here. We need a high, kind of a high digit from 6, 7, 8, or 9, as in one of 8 or 9 in the middle. 9's not available, so there's an 8 in here. That is placed, isn't it? No, it's not placed. It's 1 or 3. The reason I say it's almost placed is, if you think about it, I can't place a 2 because that'd be consecutive with both the 1 and 3. So 2's out, 4 is out. This is 1 or 3. Because of, well, I mean, it doesn't actually help me with the 8. It's already higher than both. It's 5 or more away from 1 and 3. So not quite. I really want to think about these lines, though. So what are the options? I could place a 3 at this end, which would place an 8, which would require a 1, because I need something that's not consecutive with the 3. Then I'd end up with a 1-3 pair breaking this cell. So this cannot be a low digit. This is a high digit. This is a high digit. These are the low digits. That's not the 8. That's the 8. That has to be a 6 now. 7 and 9 are consecutive. That forces a 1 in here. That forces a 3. That forces a 1. 1 and 3, all looking in here, can't be 2, which is consecutive. That has to be I've broken it. Yeah, I have broken it. What went wrong with that reasoning? Right, if it's a low digit, it's solid. It has to be a 3. Because the candidates are 3, 4, if it's a low digit on the end. And I've already placed the 4. And that's my mistake. The fact that this is a 9 tells me nothing about whether this is 3 or 4. I got really excited, and that probably means that 4 is a candidate in here as well, because that could be a 9. So trying very hard not to use any swear words. I really thought I was sort of about to solve this, but okay. So we have an 8. With 1 or 2. Oh, this is tricky. This could be 6, 7. All right, let's try this differently. If this is a low digit, I'd have a 3, 4 pair. This would become a 1. And then what digit am I placing in here? So that would need to be, because 1, 3, 4 are now already placed. That would require a 2, which would require this to be a 4, to not be consecutive, which would require a 9 in the middle. So it's still the right conclusion that this is not low. This is high. This is high. These are both low. And this, therefore, has to be the 8. That's not an 8. That has to be, to not be consecutive with the 8, has to be the 6. That has to be the 1. That's not a 1. 3 would be consecutive with the 3 or 4. That has to be the 1. That's a 3, 4 pair. This has to be the other 3, 4 with the 8 in here. That tells me that's the 3, that's the 4, that's the 3, that's the 9. And then I have still to be placed 2, 5, and 7. I mean, the 5 is cornered, and this is 2, 7. Really just feels like magic. Right. I need either a high blue digit, which can only be a 4, and that would need to be a 9. That is plausible. Not plausible, possible. The other option, of course, would be that this would be a 9, which I think we've established. We have to start with a high. No, we don't. What? what did I say again? This would have to be 3 or 4, and this would have to be 6 or 7. And the 6 and 7 are not available, so this has to be a low digit. So that is just forced, as odd as that sounds. These are all forced decisions. That's a 4, that's a 9. That has to be a low digit that is not consecutive with the 4. I mean, 1 and 2 obviously works. And then this is a low digit, low high digit. And the 7 is gone. The 8 is consecutive. That's a 6. Forcing a 1. Forcing a 2. Forcing a 4. Because that 3 would have been consecutive. I can see why this puzzle is getting this absolutely phenomenal rating. So we've got a handful of these lines left. That's a 3. That has to be 8 or 9. 9 is placed. That's just an 8. The 3-cell lines are interesting. So I think the statement about what digit is in the middle probably still applies, in that it has to be either a high digit from 8 or 9, which you can see this cannot be. And therefore this has to be a low digit, and it's not a 2, that's a 1. And I'm surrounded by 2 high digits that could be anything, as long as they're not consecutive. Now this is not 6 or 9, this is 7 or 8. And whichever one it is, it almost doesn't matter. This cannot be another sort of 7 or 8, because that would be consecutive. So this would have to be an extreme high digit, as in either 6 or 9, to make sure it's not consecutive with a 7 or 8. And that can only be a 6, because the 9 is already placed. So that's a 6. That can't be now a 7 to be consecutive with the 6. So that's an 8. I'm kind of going a bit fast here. I just sort of want to rewind it. I think the conclusions are all correct. So if I place 6 or 7, that would put 1 or 2 in here. So yes, this has to be low. And if I place a 3, that would put 8 or 9 in here, and then that would break the puzzle because it would be consecutive. So this has to be a low digit. The 2 is not available. That is a 1. Now we're surrounded by high digits. That could be anything. I mean, there are very few restrictions at this point. It's a 1. So I can place any of 6, 7, 8, or 9. Now this one, being 6 and 9, is forcing this to be 7 or 8. And because this is 7 or 8, I need an extreme high digit from 6 or 9 to make sure it's not consecutive. If I place a 7, since I've got 8s in here, that's a 7. That can't be an 8, nor 6 or 9, and I've broken it. So this is from 6 or 9. That's the 9. Therefore, that's the 6. That can't be consecutive. That's the 8. I think that was pretty solid reasoning. Can we pull any similar magic tricks here? What are the options for this? So remember, it has to be a low digit or a high digit. So 2 and 8 are candidates here, because 1 is not available and 9 is not available. Now, if that's an 8, this would be a 3. That would be forced, because 1, 2, and 4 are all gone. So far plausible. And because that's a 3, 2 and 4 would be consecutive, so that has to be a 1. So that's forced if that's an 8. If this is a 2, well, 7, 9, and 6 all see this. That would have to be an 8. So I end up with I was going to say I end up with a 2, 8 pair. I don't actually. That's a 3. So if that's a 2, that's an 8. Forcing this to not be 7 or 9, it would have to be a 6, which is too close to a 2. So 2 doesn't work. That's an 8. That's a 3. That's a 1. And that is all of the Nabner Whisper lines done. And apparently this solves from here for using just Sudoku. So wish me luck. It still doesn't look like it's necessarily going to be an easy solve. What do we have plenty of? Ones we do, but I think I've basically pencil marked all the options. 2s, we don't have that many of. 2 is in here. many spots for a 2. I'm not going to go down this route. 3, I can actually place a 3. I can almost place another 3. Not enough. That is, I was going to say that's a 1-3 pair. No, it isn't. The 3 is in one of these 2 cells. 4s, this is not looking good, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have many of these. 5s, we have not many of them either. 6s, not many again. 7s. 8s? Come on. Something. That's an 8. Okay, so it's going to get to a hard classic Sudoku is kind of the conclusion I'm getting to. Almost. No, that's 3. That's 1. That's not a 1. That's 1. 3 gives me another 3 pair in here. 8s, that's not an 8. That's the 8. I think that's all the 8s done now. Yep. 9s maybe? Come on, help. That gives me a 2-9 pair. Got a 9 cornered in here. In fact, 9 is in one of these 2 cells. Actually, I don't know why I didn't even look at it. This is a 5-9 pair. What is this cell? I mean, yeah, 5-9 pair. That's the 5. That's the 9. That's not the 5. What is that? 2. I know what these 3 are now, and I know what these are, and yeah, let's just, come on, let's just play Sudoku properly. I think I was feeling very chuffed about the previous solve. That's the 9. I need 4 and 7. That's the 4. That's the 7. My brain temporarily kind of froze there. I need 5 and 6 in this row. That's the 6. That's the 5. This is forced with a 2. This triplet is known. It is 5, 7, and 6. 5, 6, 7. That's not a 6. Nothing else is really known about this. Okay. We've got a 7 in here. So these are from 2 5s, not solved or resolved. No, that is. That gives me a 2. That gives me a 5. That gives me another 2-7 pair, which isn't resolved this time. And that's another 2-7 pair. That's a 2. That's a 7. That's a 2. That's the 7. I need 4 and 6. It doesn't look like they're resolved. That 9 is gone. I have a pair of 4s and 5s, I'm going to say. Seemingly unresolved. What do I need in here? I need 5, 6, and 7 again. Well, the 7 is down here. In fact, I was going to say that's resolved, but it isn't. So this is a 5, 7 because of this 6, and it matches this pair. This is not 7, this is 5 or 6. You have a 5, 6, 7 triplets, which I'm not entirely sure I can resolve, at least not yet. I have a 3 with a 6 or 7 in this column. Sorry, with 2 of 5, 6, 7. No, that's not right. In addition to the 3, because 5, 6, 7, I've got 2 of them. There's another digit in here. What am I missing? The 4. That's the 4. That's not a 6. That's why it's 1 of 5, 7. So I have 3, 4, and a 5, 7. Two gives me the 9. This is another 9. The 2s are probably resolved. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's not a 3. That's a 3. Right, that's better. That is a 5, I think. 4, 5, 6, 4, 6. I mean, we knew there isn't a 6 down there. That doesn't really help. That's a 5-7 pair. That is the 6. That's not a 6. This is 4 with a 5-7. Come back to that. We can just place a digit in here. It is 7. It is 4. Get rid of this 4. It gives me a 7 in here, a 5 in here, 7. And I think we've solved it, ladies and gentlemen. If I've not made any other mistakes, that's a solution to today's puzzle. What an absolutely phenomenal puzzle, PDN. I mean, I know we've only just started the year, but I mean, had this been from, I mean, it was technically from 2023, just that I featured it in 2024 doesn't mean that it is not a candidate for, I mean, probably my favorite puzzle of 2023. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Just the small combination of this rule set and the way it plays. And yeah, these numbers just really seem to appear out of nothing. Really loved it. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. I mean, even at least half as much as I did. That would have been an absolute joy. And that you enjoyed the solve. I think, yeah, that went pretty smoothly, if I reflect on it. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you back for the next one. Oh, I should have actually mentioned one last thing before I sign off. Looking at the tally of, votes for the next live to celebrate the 1,000 subscribers, Monday is sort of winning by a landslide, so it will be Monday night, or at least UK Monday night, at 1900 GMT or 7 p.m. Hope to see many of you there, and bye-bye for now.